out here today at, we're down in Dover, planting tomatoes. So what we've got here is an automatic tomato planter, and it's doing the work of how many people, Bob? 9 people. You guys are doing the work of 9 people. Anyway, I didn't introduce Rob. It's Rob Denijs. And this is the first year you've used this planter? Second year. How fast are we going?
We're going 4 miles an hour.
4 miles an hour? I can hardly hang on. 4.2. So how many acres a day with this plant?
We plant around 20 acres a day.
With 2 guys? Well, 3 guys. Okay, so one thing, that's pretty neat how that works. What this thing also does, and I know that from the onion planter, if we're missing a tomato plant, it'll automatically advance and fill that hole in. So when you used to plant the old-fashioned way, how fast would you go? Like 1 mile an hour. So we're planting 4 times the size.
When we were doing the 1 mile an hour, we were planting 6 rows at a time.
Yeah.
Now we're only doing 2, but we're still 20% faster.
It's how much faster? 20%. 20%. With a 2-row machine. Yep. And this machine comes from Holland? Belgium. So how many of these are there in?
I think there's around...
I got to get on the job here. I got to watch for those trays. I'll watch for that.
I think there's about 20 or 30 robots.
This thing is amazing. So you're going to be done planting tomorrow?
Yep. All the peppers in and just mixing up on the tomatoes.
So, one thing I want to talk about is fertilizer. What do you apply for fertilizer?
SOP, MAP, potash, and then ammonium. I still get ammonium AN, and I do a little bit of that 20N.
Do you do any side dressing through the season?
Little bit. We do a lot of foliar cropping in the spring. We go through with the fungicide.
Oh yeah. So foliar feeding. So have you planted anything else like peppers?
Yep. Peppers with it, yep. 50 acres of peppers last week with it. I really like peppers because the stalk and the peppers really cherry. And they're just like little pops in the stick. So.
Well, Rob, this has really been interesting, seeing how you plant. And
thanks for coming out.
I'm really glad I had a chance to get out here. And just lucky we caught the weather the way we did.
Yeah.
Like in Dresden, it rained probably close to ½ an inch. And what'd you get here, like a 1/10?
Apparently 10.
Yeah. Well, it's nice to see this kind of innovation coming to the tomato world, because you need things like this, because you got to become more efficient.
Yep.
And that's the name of the game.
It is.
And all of agriculture has to eliminate labor as much as we hate to. It has to happen.
Yep. That's dependent.
Because that's one of the biggest bills.
It is.
Yeah. Well, thanks a lot. And the one thing I didn't mention, this is our first sponsored video. This video has been sponsored today by Kent AgriLab. And if you're going to plant something and you want to know how it's going to grow, it's got to go to Kent AgriLab right there in Tupperville. Is that all right, Rob?
Yeah, that's all right.
That's
Thanks,
perfect. I'll send a bill.
All right, perfect.
Okay, we're back at the first part of the filming we did with this planter. They boys were planting with it, and it was kind of noisy. We were going fast, and Rob was telling me, I'm here with Rob Denijs. Rob was telling me about all the things they had to do to make this planter work in Canada, and that's what we want to show you today. I didn't want to stop them when they were planting, and they plant at Mach 2. Don't they, Rob? Yeah. It's unbelievable how fast this thing plants. I thought they were coming back because they'd run out of tomato plants because they were coming so fast, but that's how fast they plant. So Rob's going to go over all the things that had to be done to make this planter transition from Belgium to Canada, right?
Yep.
Go ahead, Rob.
I guess the biggest thing was our trays. In Canada, we use these floppy, one-time use trays, and they get recycled and make back into the same tray, so they've been disinfected. But in Europe, they use reusable styrofoam trays.
They recycle these?
Yeah, they actually take them back, grind them up, reheat them, and
make new ones.
Make four. So there's in these ones, there's about 50% of an old tray in a new tray. And when you go to the to get flowers at the greenhouse, those have about 80% of these trays melted in those ones.
That's perfect.
So yeah, so it's not like, yeah, they're brand new every year, but they're not getting thrown away, they're getting recycled. So it works really good. So, but these are a little bit flimsy, that you can see like this. And the way that the machine indexes ahead is it pokes from the bottom, the plants out, and then it slides it ahead and then goes to the next hole. Well, when it does that, it stretches a tray. So the manufacturer in Belgium said, our machine won't work for you. Don't even bother coming to look at it. It's not going to work. So then we said, we're still coming to look at it. And the three families around here, we went up and looked at it. And we said, tell us your problems. Or tell us how your machine works. Our problems are our problems, and your machine's your machine. And we'll figure out our problem. Well, then we sat around the bar one night and we came up with these. So then these get dragged ahead by the plungers on all these holes, and the tray goes in and sits in like this, and now it's one unit.
Now it's stiff instead of floppy.
Yep, and it pulls on the aluminum cassette, and then it also has to be held from the side, pinched so it doesn't slip around when it indexes and pops up new trays. And that's how we came up with that idea, and we went through, that's our third prototype. Like, went from, our first cassette was out of wood to check out the holes, and then the next set was out of aluminum, and then we had to put a little bit of other bracing on it for the manufacturer in Belgium to make it work.
So did you send one of these over there?
Yeah, he had it 2 weeks after we came back from Canada to Canada. He had it two and a half weeks.
You sent it to him.
And they were kind of knew we were serious then when they had it for 2.5 weeks. They were like, well, I guess we could send those guys over.
Yeah. We run into the same thing. We brought a piece of equipment in from Belgium, and it was supposed to be CSA approved. It was not CSA approved. The wires were not CSA approved. And one thing with the electrical people here, if it isn't CSA approved, you can buy it. You can't turn it on. And so we ordered another one, and we said, we'll send you the wire. They wouldn't take the wire. We offered to give them the wire. They wouldn't take it. We had to rewire the first one. So we canceled it, didn't take the second one, and went with something else. Went with a Canadian. We found a Canadian manufacturer, finally. And we dealt them off. But that's, aluminum is good because light.
That was the whole thing. The reason there's so many lightning holes in it and along the outside, we were trying to make this cassette,
take the weight off it.
This cassette weighs like an ounce or so lighter than this tray does full with plants. Because my brother's from Toyota, so everything's repetitious. So he was trying to make sure that the heaviest thing that they pick up all day is this full of plants. And this full of plants is heavier than that is empty. So then for repetition, then no one gets hurt or no one gets wore out at the end of the day. Because you're handling, one guy handles a lot of those in a day.
A lot.
So
Yeah.
You start picking up an extra half a pound here and there, and it's in tons.
It's tons at the end of the day. We've got the big boss here today. We got Ed. How are you, Ed?
Good. Good. How are you guys?
Oh, I'm learning lots today.
There's always lots to learn, Dennis.
Oh, yeah.
You're never done learning.
Well, I was amazed, and I had no idea that you had to do all this changing. When I rode on the planter down there, and those cassettes started kicking out, I had no idea. And then he kind of told me what you had to do, and I thought, well, I've got to come and get that.
Yeah,
Because
it's totally new technology. And different. Just different. It's totally out of the way.
Well, when you bring something in from another country, it's like you say, everybody does things a little different. And it's so simple. You know, we're using these, and they're not. They're using something different.
Yep. But they never even dawned on it that they're like, well, that's one extra step you have to do to plant it. And we're like, well, it doesn't matter. You should see how we're planting right now.
Yeah.
And actually, to be honest, they actually are now using that in Belgium for another farmer, because the way to go from one tray to another tray, this dimension size, to reset all the dimensions, it's a lot of work. It can be like 2 hours of robot. We can do it in less than 20 minutes of robot now, because our next tray can be a little bit different physical shape, but our holder is the exact same shape, so you don't have to set up the robot to accept a new. And we can make the front edge here to the center of the first hole the same dimension, right? By changing the aluminum, and then all that setting in the machine, it stays
constant.
It's constant.
So when you plant peppers, are they in a different size tray?
Half our peppers are in a different size tray. They're in a 200. So this has 288 holes, and the other ones have 200 holes. So the cassette looks almost the same, but the dimensions are a little bit different. And there's, instead of being 24 lines of holes, there's only 20.
Okay.
So then that changes a little bit. But then you need to put new fingers in it and new plungers, and away it goes.
So you just change them out?
Yeah, change them out.
Yeah.
But then the machine does go 20% slower, because there's 24 holes here, and then you go to 20 holes, so it's almost 20% there.
And I tried to catch it when we were planting, but that's amazing, the technology they have to advance if there's a plant missing. If this plant's missing, it just pulls it ahead.
There's a split in the belt, like a little gap, and the peat moss falls out, and the other plants are getting lightly held down by their stem, so the peat moss won't roll out, and then the potentiometer sees it and jumps it ahead, steps it ahead.
It sees the gap. It just shoves it up a little faster.
It's unbelievable how it does that so quick.
It does.
Because when this thing's going down at 4.5 miles an hour, that's traveling.
Plants.
I was struggling to hang on that day. And for me, when you haven't been riding on it, you get a little motion sickness, because it's bouncing
and you're watching other stuff. It's all new. Your brain's overloaded.
Yeah, there's so many things you're watching. I'm trying to watch. Well, am I getting that? Am I getting that? Anyway, well, that's really interesting. Was there anything else then you had to change?
Little stuff here and there, but not. Our machine is pulled 3-point hitch, where most guys, we lift the whole machine up. We're in Belgium, and that their tractors aren't big enough to do that, so they run it all with like towing.
Yeah.
So we went to the 3-point hitch just to keep smaller headlands. And turning around one row at a time, turning kills you, right? So if you can turn on the headland faster, you're getting more throughput through the day.
You saw it on the video, we did an onion video, and it was a 6-row machine.
Yep.
It's a pull type, but it is heavy. Like you could not put that on a 3-point hitch.
But he's also quite a bit quick, because I mean, he has less headland time, right? We're with a 1-row, we're always at the headland turning. We were really conscientious not to slow up on the headlands.
Well,
we plant 1 row at a time, or 1 bed at a time, every twin rows, but we cultivate 3 twin rows at a time. So they have to be lined up at the end of the row.
For the cultivator to work.
Yeah, otherwise you rip them out.
Yeah.
And then with the 3-point hitch, it works really good.
Well, it's really amazing that you've found this technology and brought it here to Canada. And I think in 10 years' time, the old planters, you'll never see one.
I know, it's going fast.
Yeah.
I think they're already sold out for next year.
Are they?
Yeah.
Well, that's good. Well, thanks for taking the time this morning and going over that. And I want to thank everybody that's watched the channel this morning. or today, and keep viewing. If you have any comments, send them along to soybeanman@jacksonseedservice.com. Thanks a lot.